Meteorologist Nicole Hartford joining us right now with the latest on the track of Helene. Nicole, how are we looking out there right now?
Well, right now things are still very quiet, which is why it's the time to prepare. We do have that weather impact alert for today as well as tomorrow all day to be sure that you are ready for Hurricane Helene as it makes its way into North Georgia. This is going to bring very heavy rainfall that could lead to flooding as well as gusty, even damaging winds. A little bit lower of a threat, but still something to watch will be that risk for severe storms and perhaps some brief spin up tornadoes. So today, throughout the next few hours, that's the time to make sure you are ready. There will be power outages, there will be flooding, but knowing if it will be your house or your neighborhood, impossible. So you might as well prepare for it. Make sure that you have any batteries you need for flashlights. Make sure your cell phone is charged and hunker down as the rainfall starts to get more intense and the winds start to increase as well. Here's Hurricane Helene currently. I was talking about that intensification that it's been undergoing to create a more distinct eye wall, and we're starting to see a clearer eye within Hurricane Helene, which shows how it is intensifying. This is still a Category 2 hurricane. We will get the next advisory coming up at 11 a.m. That's typically when they update the forecast track as well as the strength of Hurricane Helene. So we'll see what changes come with that from the National Hurricane Center. This is moving up towards the north-northeast at about 12 miles per hour. So it has picked up the pace compared to yesterday, and that quicker moving pace will be something we're watching throughout the next couple of days as this makes its landfall along the Big Bend of Florida. So this is forecast to intensify to a major Category 3 hurricane as it closes in on the Florida coast, with landfall expected later this evening, late tonight, early tomorrow morning. Because this is moving so quickly, it will be able to hold on to a lot of the intensity that sometimes we don't see often with these landfalling systems. This will be moving fast, so it may still be a hurricane. It will likely still be a hurricane as it moves into the state of Georgia, and it may even hold on to near hurricane force winds and tropical storm force winds up into the Atlanta metro as well as it starts to veer up towards the northwest. Now, this is not something we see very often when it comes to these tropical systems along the Atlantic coast. Typically, they get caught up in the jet stream and they're pushed up towards the northeast. Well, that will eventually happen. The cold front that led to rainfall yesterday, the big area of low pressure out towards our west, will actually pull in a lot of the moisture associated with Hurricane Helene, forcing it into a little bit more of a northwesterly turn before it eventually pushes it off towards the northeast. So that does mean that some of that rainfall could linger there across portions of Tennessee as well as Mississippi for the next day or so. This is what it looks like currently in the Atlanta metro area. This is our view from our Georgia Tech cam. You can see the rain is falling. It's persistent, but at this point it is predominantly light. It's overcast, it's dreary, it's gray. It's a day that makes you want to stay indoors, and that's probably a good idea once you have all those hurricane preps ready. Here's what our satellite radar looks like right now. We're starting to see more of the heavier rainfall push into central Georgia. So far through North Georgia, it's been mainly light, but some pockets of heavier rain have kind of been embedded within some of the lighter rain as well. Right now, one of those pockets of heavier rain is stretching through South Fulton County. These are moving up towards the north, so the heavier rainfall will expand across our area throughout the day today. We had a few of those pockets of heavier rainfall through Rabun County as well. I want to point out with this particular little area of heavier rain just east of the Clayton area, this is what we call training thunderstorms. That's where the heaviest of the rain lingers over the same locations for long periods of time, and that's bad news when it comes to a flood threat and something we're going to be watching for very closely as Helene makes its way across our area. Here's that line of heavier rainfall that extends through Macon and central Georgia. This is moving northward, so we're starting to see some of that heavier rainfall already into portions of Upson County, and this will be expanding through the next couple hours. So it is about to get heavier when it comes to rain. If you have those preps you still need to make, I would say get them done as quickly as you can throughout the rest of the morning and into the earlier afternoon. There is a threat for severe weather as this comes through as well. And because of that, we have tornado watches that have been issued for portions of eastern Georgia as well as South Carolina and then down into Florida. There have already been a number of tornado warnings throughout some of those outer rain bands through Florida. And we currently have a tornado warning up into North Carolina outside of that tornado watch. So it's something we'll be looking for even here in North Georgia. One of our biggest impacts will be the flooding. We have a flood watch in effect that extends through portions of the state of Florida, really the entire state, the only exception being that little end of the panhandle there. Those flood watches go into Alabama. They extend up towards the northwest, even into portions of northern Mississippi, western Tennessee, and they do encompass all of North Georgia. So the Atlanta metro area, anywhere you go across the state, there is that potential for flooding. That's extremely important if you do have to be out on the roads throughout the next 24 to, I would say, even 48 hours as some of that rain settles into streams and creeks across the area. We'll continue to see swollen streams, swollen creeks, and even flooding in those typical flood-prone locations even after the rain has ended. If you see any standing water, do not try to drive through it. If you don't have to be out on the roads today and tomorrow, I would just recommend not getting in your car and staying at home with those flood watches. We also have tropical storm warnings in effect across the state. This is specifically when it comes to the wind speeds. It means that winds are expected to be tropical storm force as Helene moves through. We've got tropical storm warnings through much of North Georgia, and those hurricane warnings even include Upson County as well as Lamar County. It goes down towards the south into portions of central and southern Georgia where the center of circulation is expected and where those hurricane force winds are expected. Those tropical storm warnings extend throughout the state and up towards the northeast into South Carolina as well. That wind will lead to incredible storm surge along the Florida coast. We're anticipating storm surge of more than 12 feet where this makes landfall along the Big Bend, and that storm surge of nearly 9 or 10 feet extends down towards the Tampa Bay area as well. That storm surge also off towards the Georgia coast, the South Carolina coast, which will be up to about 3 feet. So not quite as high, but could still lead to some storm surge related flooding there along the Georgia and South Carolina coast. Helene has become a Category 2 hurricane. It's intensified rapidly from just a tropical storm this time yesterday. That rapid intensification, which is when it undergoes intensifying wind speeds of more than 35 miles per hour in a 24-hour period, are in part fueled by the warm temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico. Our water temperatures through the Atlantic, through the Gulf of Mexico are unusually warm right now in the mid to upper 80s, and that warm water really acts as fuel for these tropical systems. What Helene is now going to start encountering, though, is a little bit more wind shear. These areas with the light blue, that's where we start to see some weak wind shear, but still wind shear nonetheless. What does the wind shear do, you might ask? Well, it kind of knocks these tropical systems off their center. Normal hurricane wind flow has winds going around the eye and then up and out the top of the center of circulation. They kind of work as machines. So when you get wind shear, which is winds changing either wind speed or wind direction as you go up in the atmosphere, it disrupts the natural cycle, the natural wind flow of these tropical systems, and really prohibits too much additional strengthening. So that wind shear will help to hopefully slow down a little bit of that intensification as it nears the coast. But this will still have major impacts across Florida and, yes, here into North Georgia. So today we're anticipating at times very heavy rainfall. Your flood risk starts to get higher as we go into this afternoon and evening, and then overnight tonight. We're also monitoring that potential for high winds as well as some storms that could become strong or severe and even produce brief spin-up tornadoes. That will linger into Friday morning, and then we slowly start to clear out throughout the day on Friday. Here's our spaghetti models that show you where the center of circulation goes. Historically, with these tropical systems, On the western side, it's a little bit quieter. The eastern side of the center of circulation, that's where we get the gustiest winds, the heaviest rainfall, and the biggest risk for those spin-up tornadoes. So that, with these spaghetti models, may end up being off into portions of South Carolina and puts us on a still very impactful but quieter side. Any small shift in where that center of circulation goes could have big impacts to our storm threat and how strong the winds are in our area. At this point, though, it looks like the risk for tornadoes will be highest down towards our southeast, where there is that level 3 enhanced risk for severe weather, specifically spin-up tornadoes, that extends throughout the Georgia and the South Carolina coast. Portions of our area, though, are still included in that marginal level 1 risk for severe weather, particularly isolated spin-up tornadoes, as we go throughout the night tonight and into early tomorrow morning. The severe weather threat map actually takes us through early tomorrow morning around sunrise, so it really encompasses the majority of the rainfall we're anticipating. With all this rain in the forecast on top of the rain we've already picked up, we could easily see flooding develop. Moderate to high risk for flooding extends throughout North Georgia, with that highest risk encompassing portions of the northeast areas of our state, which do have topography that plays a big role. It gets into the mountain areas where rain falls and then quickly goes down into the lowest lying areas, which means that any of those valleys among the mountains, the lower lying spots, the streams, the creeks, we could see pretty large swollen creeks there that lead to additional flooding and an even more elevated flood risk. No matter where you are, though, know that it's a possibility, especially if you will be out on the roads tonight or early tomorrow morning, especially if it's not going to be light outside yet. Just be sure that you avoid any standing water and you pay attention and make sure to adhere to any barricades that you see. Here's a couple of our model rainfalls that we do have the potential for heavy rainfall. This is just one of our forecast models. I'm going to show you a couple so you don't get too attached to the actual numbers. We're talking widespread totals that range from about 3 to 6 inches, but some spots could see an additional 5, 6, 7, even 8 or 9 inches of rainfall. It's just impossible to pinpoint where the highest totals will be. That is on top of the 1 to 3 inches of rain that we already picked up yesterday. So when you add these two rain events together, we're talking totals across the area of close to 6 to 8 inches of accumulation, with some spots nearing a foot of rainfall over the course of the last 24 hours and what we're anticipating through today and into tomorrow morning. Here's how our forecast plays it out hour by hour. We're starting to see pockets of heavier rainfall already. That will slowly become more widespread. So by about dinner time, more areas dealing with the heavy rainfall. So my recommendation would be, if you still have those preps to make, get them done within the next few hours, and by sunset tonight at the latest, try to be wherever you want to stay for the night, because conditions will deteriorate rapidly through the overnight with more widespread rainfall. This is ahead of the center of circulation. That landfall is expected late this evening across the Florida coast, and the center of circulation will quickly push up towards the north, arriving in North Georgia by about sunrise on Friday. That's when the heavy rainfall will be most widespread. That's when we will also see the gustiest winds. As that ejects further up towards the north, we should clear out pretty quickly throughout the day on Friday, behind the remnants of Helene. We're talking some isolated showers that still linger into Friday morning, even through the second half of the day on Friday, but we may even see some breaks in the cloud cover by Friday afternoon. It will likely be pretty quick to clear out. The winds, however, a little slower to calm. Right now, they're not very gusty. They will start to pick up this afternoon, but the strongest wind gusts are not expected until late tonight and early tomorrow morning. So it's very likely that you wake up to the sound of wind either hitting your windows or rustling the trees, and we'll keep wind gusts of up to about 40 to 60 miles per hour through all of North Georgia. This is just a snapshot of what we could anticipate around 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning, but wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour are certainly possible, especially closest to the center of circulation across the eastern portions of our area. Winds, again, are going to be the strongest on the east side of the center center of circulation. Those winds will continue to stay breezy throughout the day on Friday. It won't be quite as gusty by Friday afternoon, but we'll still see a good deal of breezy winds, and we'll be tracking this for you closely. Remember to download the 11 Alive app to make sure that you get all the latest updates as Hurricane Helene closes in on the Florida coast and eventually pushes all that rainfall into our area.